Hello everyone. Let us solve the definition of the format validation where the first and last characters are fixed single characters in uppercase and the characters in between are digit characters, any number of them. So we are going to use the looping method to solve the definition. Now, a few things you need to understand is there are two things which are fixed, the first character and the last character. So we can get to know the length of the string. So that will actually tell me where the last character is located. We already know where the first character is located through the index position 0. And we will use a loop, more specifically the for loop, to check the characters second and onwards till the last but one. And all these characters should be digit characters. So let us define all the variables that we might need here. So we are not going to convert the string into uppercase because it is expected that the first and the last characters are already in uppercase. If they are not, then it is not acceptable. So I would need n to store the length of the string I as the counter variable. I'm going to use in count to count and store how many digit characters were extracted. Okay, then I would need C1 for the first character and Cn for the last character, maybe a Cn for the last character. And I would need one more variable x to extract individual characters. So having defined these variables, so let us start off by assigning the values. So n should contain the length of the string. So it is in n that tells us how many characters are there. And then in the beginning, we will store 0 in the counter, and as and when I extract the digit characters, and if it is a digit character, then I would add 1 to the counter. Oh, this counter variable can be anything, but CNT sounds more comparable to what I'm doing, so I can connect it much to the work that it would be doing. Okay, so C1 is going to be the first character, so a straight char at. No need to look for any other, method. Okay, Cn, the last character. Now, where does the last character fall? If n is the length of the string, and if we are counting from 0, then the last character occurs on the n minus 1 position. So that's the last character. So we have assigned a few things here. Let me start off writing the loop. Okay, so that's a for loop. So here is where I'm going to write in my entire logic and say, okay, extract one character and check whether it is a digit or not, and then add one to it. Now, the whole point is the first character is accounted for in C1. The last character has already been extracted in Cn. So why should we be using the 0 to n minus 1 here? Less than n is n minus 1. So I would now replace this because the first character has been taken up in C1. I don't need to recheck it. It is anyways not going to be in the, the digit, uh, the character list. It's an alphabet, not a digit character. But what if you wrote 0 to n? Then your logic outside the for loop would change a little. So when I come to that, I'll tell you what. So I'm going to skip the 0th character because I've already, extracted it. We don't need to recheck it. And n minus 1 is already done. So I'm not going to include the n minus 1. So it will be from the second character to the last but one character, but not the first character and not the last character, which we have already extracted here. So now more sensible logic here. So next thing is we're going to extract the ith character. And what do we need to do here is check whether x is greater than equal to 0, and okay, that should be greater than equal to, and it should be less than equal to the digit character 9. If so, we have come across our digit character. So I'll add 1 to the counter, which is actually counting how many digit characters have been extracted. So after coming out of the for loop is the final decision. The first character should be what? Should be an alphabet. And which alphabet? It should be the capital alphabet. So that's my first condition. And I would rather copy and paste the same thing instead of retyping it. So first should be alphabet, and I want the last to be an alphabet also. So my condition's done. And I want one more condition. What is the condition? The rest of the characters except the first and the last. So if the length of the string is n, how many characters are we talking about here? If we exclude the first and the last, we are talking about n minus 2 characters. So this n minus 2 should be equal to the count that we counted in the CNT variable. If so, we would go ahead and print correct format. You can customize whatever you want to show to the user. Right, so this is what I was talking about. Now, what if you wrote a 0 to n? Okay, then in that situation, you will have to make sure that counter plus 2 should be equal to n. So counter is going to count how many digits are there. Or you can just go ahead and write the same condition here. So n minus 2 should be equal to counter. But this is a little more sensible, makes more sense actually. But if you wrote a 0 to less than n, it is still going to work the same. This condition would work the same, so it should not be a problem. Let us go ahead and test it. Okay, so the format is so it should say incorrect format because the first character is not a capital alphabet. So let me put in a capital alphabet and it says correct format. Now one or more digits, I'm going to put in just one and it will still say correct format. You put in any number of digits and it will say correct format. If you take off one of the alphabets, it will say incorrect format, right? So my code is working. But if you have seen the previous video 719A, you would have realized that solving the same thing using patterns is much easier. 4 lines and you are ready with the output. And here I'm writing the entire for loop, and then we are checking at the end of the for loop what is the value in the counter. So this is another solution, a longer way, but then again an interesting way of looking at the same definition. Try this out, and in the next video we'll catch up with a new definition.